Hey Deb, I've got something else I wanted to show you for expos and
Oh,
gift fairs.
oh, fantastic. Do you have a prototype there?
I don't have a prototype because they're pretty big, but what I do have is photos. So
Oh,
I've got
brilliant.
another PowerPoint to show you. Um,
Fantastic.
these are more marketing, where the other ones we talked about were a sales tool. This is a marketing thing. So expos, um, so like a building fair or a trade fair or a home show, gift fairs,
Yeah.
or an event, maybe a music event potentially, or maybe you're just creating an event um, in a public space. And then visual merchandising is the other one. So particularly shop fronts, so retailers who want to put together something really special in their display window. And for
Oh,
those
like
guys,
David Jones does at Christmas time.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So I've got mostly photos this time. And so this one was, this is World Square in Sydney.
Yeah.
And so it was Nike and they wanted to create this event. So we did this stand where this is all 3D printed again, um, carried on site by visual merchandisers and assembled. And they had these artists, if I go back, they had these artists, you can just see him standing in there and they were spray painting on the inside of it.
Okay.
Um,
So that's inside a shoe.
Yeah, well, the look is it's a giant shoebox
Yeah.
effectively. So
Wow.
this was all cut out here, and this guy's head here, he was painting on the inside. To create conversation about what was happening, something really engaging for people who are just walking past, and just creating an event like there in a public space.
So that's a really intriguing way of creating a pop-up. So it's not just, a table and, a couple of retractable banners. This is really quite immersive.
Mm. And that's a great example. Like it almost flips the script where with a pop-up and you can just imagine that the entrance of the shopping center and they're standing there with people trying to hand out pamphlets and trying to create a conversation with people as they walk past. And well, I don't know about you, but sometimes I avoid those people.
Yeah, I do
um,
too.
and whereas this,
It's engaging.
yeah, it would draw people in, it would actually attract people.
Yeah,
um,
it makes people curious to find out what is going on in there. So the
mm.
whole thing was 3D printed, was it?
So this was flatbed printed, and then assembled into a 3D item.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so this one was printed onto a material called reboard, which I've got some more photos of, and I'll tell you a little bit more about
Fantastic.
later. So then this next one, so this was for Dare Coffee. So you can see, they created a portable pop-up on the footpath in Sydney. So this guy's wearing
Yeah,
like a counter, would have weighed maybe 5 kilos.
okay.
And then just a skin, like a vinyl skin, like a vehicle wrap, just on an esky, and they're out there giving out Dare, doing
Yeah.
marketing, doing promotions.
And once again, it's quirky, it's something a little bit different.
Yeah.
In this case, it actually doesn't take up a massive amount of space. So it will fit into that pop-up size that is required for a lot of those pop-up shops without it, taking up too much space.
Mm. And it's so much better than what you often see, where they have these wrinkled posters that kind of magnet onto this bench that they pull out for them.
Yeah.
The presentation's so much better.
So how was this made then?
So again, this was reboard.
So
So this
that's
would
not
have,
wood.
sorry?
It's not wood.
No. So it's reboard, which is quite a light and strong material. And then these textures were printed on.
Fantastic, which obviously makes it a lot cheaper than something that's had to be made out of actual wood.
And lighter.
Yeah,
Um, and this would have folded down. So these guys could potentially have carried it on the train. Though maybe not considering the esky, but
yeah, clever.
yeah.
Fantastic. What else?
So this was in the airport. So you can see in the background the airport. So for Virgin, obviously, and Virgin supplied this element, which is the first class seat. But the printing is this display in the background. So we had this curve here happen, installed lighting. All of this again is printed onto reboard and then folded into shape effectively, and assembled on site.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it's a great,
fantastic.
yeah, it's a stunning presentation, and it just pops up, in a cafeteria in this case.
It just takes it to the next level, doesn't it? It looks so professional. And can you imagine something like that in an expo? Like if you're at a travel expo and you've got a display like that showing, your first class seats and everything else around it, that really makes quite an impression.
Yeah.
And I know this is in a cafe, but in an expo, you could use the exact same concept.
Yeah, that's right. And it's such a step up from like a pull-up banner, and a table with a couple of brochures on it, which is the alternative, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this next example was visual merchandising. So see this here?
Yeah.
So they made a bike, basically. And so this is, again, reboard. So the way that it works is it prints onto the material and then it goes onto a cutting table that cuts it to this shape, and then in store, they just assemble it. So you can see like this element here is what holds it up. Like it's very much like a kid's kind of pop-up.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just remembering as a child. You'd have these books that you can pop out the different items and shapes and then put them together. So it's that concept, but it's quite fun, and it adds this a real intrigue into the display.
And with visual merchandising, especially shop fronts, it's all about layers.
Yeah.
And you can see the way they've used the banner in the background and then extended it onto the ground with this piece here, and really tied the whole presentation together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
So this is the material that they use. So this is a foam board, or a kappa board, which is an extension of the old, or an evolution of the old foam core, which was very fragile and very difficult to use. It's a different foam and it's a different material on top, so it's a lot harder to break, harder to damage.
Yeah.
So actually,
how thick is it?
So it goes from 5 mil up to, I think, 20 mil is the thickest I've worked with.
Okay, so it can get pretty thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a video of a guy abusing some. So this is foam core. So you can see he's just crushing it with his fingers.
Yeah.
And then he just snaps it. It was terrible. I don't know if you ever worked with it. I had the misfortune of working with it quite a lot.
Yeah.
And this is the board. So you can see how much stronger it is. Like you can't crush it with any, yeah. And then when it snaps, it's much stronger, but it is catastrophic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So it's a different material, but I thought that was an interesting video of a guy beating up some foam core.
Absolutely. So, okay, so this is still the product, is it?
Yeah, and this was the next one, and this is more interesting. So this is reboard, and what's great about this is it's 100% recycled and 100% recyclable. So it's basically cardboard, like you would recognize the flutes from cardboard, but it's ridiculously strong. And you can make these shapes, so you cut these out of it, and that then allows it to create these kind of shapes that we saw in those earlier displays. And yeah, this is how strong it is. You can literally make furniture out of it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's one printer I know who works with this, and everything he has is made out of this stuff. Workbenches, the seats out the front in the waiting room, all this stuff is.
I love the fact that it's recycled and it's recyclable. I think that sustainable element to it is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it's something that a lot of businesses are trying to move towards.
100%.
So if these displays are something you want to do, you can do it in an environmentally conscious way.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of businesses are moving to the whole, thinking greener, cleaner, particularly your B Corps that are, out there. I think that's a really good alternative.
And what's kind of cool about this from that perspective is because of this profile, like anyone looking at that knows that it's recycled. Like it looks recycled, it looks recyclable. So, if that's congruent with your brand or that's the particular message that you're trying to send, like this product will just do it just by dint of how it is.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this is a product display, which is again the kind of stuff you can do with it, like back to visual merchandising. If you had a range that you wanted to promote, here's furniture. So because it is so strong and durable, like you can use it as shelving.
Yeah. I'm even thinking things like markets. There are a lot of people that, go to markets, and does this all fit into each other? So it could come flat and then you can just build up your
absolutely
your display. So if you're at a market and you're selling different wares and items, this is a great way to have something made to exactly what you're needing. Yeah.
I mean, it all ships flat, so you can see just here on the edge that kind of protruding bit. So this one would have just slotted together. It would have come single, and you just kind of slot it together. And then at the end of the day, if you're doing markets, for example, you could just pull it apart.
Fantastic.
And again, a step up from, a pull-up banner and a desk.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, here's the curve that we saw on that, the Virgin Australia.
Yeah.
So just by doing these cuts, the material allows you to do things like that.
Fantastic. So it's quite versatile, which is lovely.
Yeah, and that's the end of it. So that's the kind of stuff that you can do. So that's all flatbed printing, and profile cutting is what it's called. But a lot of trade fairs, expos, markets, as you mentioned, visual merchandising. There's a lot of opportunities that are there in that technology for people who can think of a way to use it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I think that is going to be a very handy thing to, specifically with myself being a graphic designer and trying to come up with some really unique, different solutions for clients, particularly at trade shows. I mean, any of those expos, it's so hard to get cut through these days, and to be quite different and unique. And I think by having a material like this, that you can create these immersive experiences, or just things that are so entirely different to that retractable banner and your table with your cover on it, is fantastic. Thanks for letting me know about that one.
All right, thanks, Deb.